Good morning, Matt Waldman. Week 1, 15 games down, 1 to go. We've got some stuff to feel and fuck. How are you this fine day, sir?
Survived week 1, thrived week 1, had fun in week 1. It was a fun week 1. Of course, we got another 16 to 17 to go, so we'll see how that. Check back with me in about 6 weeks.
I think when we're and by the way, I'm Bob Harris. Hi, how are you? You can find my work at Football Guys. You can hear me on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, and who knows where else? Maybe the YouTube's on occasion. Matt Waldman also here of the Rookie Scouting Portfolio, and you'll find his work at footballguys.com as well. I thought it was interesting. The week 1 kind of is the week 1-ness of week 1. The Bengals and Browns, one of the highest point totals on the slate, according to the people in the Vegas, ended up the Steelers Jets, which was the lowest on the slate, ends up going off the charts crazy. And of course, we had a wonderful Sunday night football game which was like if you're a fantasy person, that's like the best game. Like every game should be that game. Every game.
It was a fantastic game, that's for sure. Unless you're kind of a Ravens fan like I am. But, it was still a fantastic game.
That's true. Fantastic game, maybe not the greatest outcome. But we get a lot of that this time of year. We make good decisions. We didn't necessarily get the outcomes we wanted. Or maybe we didn't make good decisions. Maybe that's something we'll have to figure out going forward. So let's get down to business. We'll start here. Dalton Kincaid is finally going to be a thing this year. Feel it or fuck it.
Fuck that. I don't believe it. I think that he scored. It was a nice play. Good throw by Josh Allen. Great catch by Kincaid. But unless they use him in the manner that they used Keon Coleman last night, in the way that they used Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid is not going to be the thing that he's expected to be. He's going to be what he's been, which is a low-end tight end 1, high-end tight end 2.
I think that is he's going to be I don't know, Jackson Hawes.
Hey.
All these guys might be interchangeable, right?
Best blocker I graded in the RSP. If that dude could catch, look out. And boy, that was a nice catch. I'll say that.
I'm with you. I'm going to say fuck that. But I think the plan and there may be a player we're about to talk about. There may be players there who change this, but Joe Brady's intention with this offense is not to target one guy, to target the open guy.
That's right.
That they pushed this hard with Josh Allen last year, and the end result was his lowest interception rate of his career. And so not forcing it to players or, trying to find someone to be the go-to guy, but finding whoever's open and making that guy the go-to guy is the plan. That said, my guy, I'm going to take all the credit over this. You'll have to excuse me. I feel like I should get up and run a victory lap. Keon Coleman. Separation frustration is a figment of reception perception. Feel it or fuck it.
I'm feeling that. No apologies to our buddy Matt Harmon. I think that if Matt was I think Matt's right. Like if you're talking about specific offensive types, if you want him on the outside solely and you're going to use him as a, traditional receiver and say like I don't know, in a different type of an offense, a lot of types of offenses in this league, he might be a little bit more frustrating if you're looking at him as a primary receiver in that respect. But Keon Coleman's kind of he's like T. Higgins with better running ability. That's the way that I would look at him. And he's as smart of a player as T. He's just younger and not quite as experienced and savvy yet. But you saw it on display this week. I mean, contested catches, skill working open on routes, hand-eye coordination to win a tipped target. This is a player who in Joe Brady's offense, they can use him inside. They can find selected shots to use him outside. It doesn't matter what he traditionally was. You could have either used him as a big slot like a Michael Thomas type in an offense and he should have thrived, or you could use him the way that the Bills are using him as a kind of a combination player and you're going to get production from him. Is it always going to be like this? No, because Joe Brady likes to spread the ball around and Khalil Shakir will have bigger days.
Because Joe Brady. But look, but I think if someone's going to break that, break the mode there, break Joe Brady's plan, it's going to be Keon Coleman. Or if it's not Keon Coleman breaking it, it's Josh Allen's desire to break it using Keon Coleman.
Sure.
He seems to have an affinity for that young man.
Sure. I agree. I think
I'm here for that.
Yeah.
My dynasty shares are here for that. Let me put it that way.
Yep. There you go.
My dynasty shares are feeling this one all day long. I don't have any shares left of Kyle Pitts, and like yesterday was encouraging. The milk carton kid was found by Michael Penix against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is this a permanent condition?
It's permanent in the sense that he's going to get the rookie Dalton Kincaid treatment of like being out in the flat and thrown to, and that Penix is good enough. Finally, they have a quarterback since Matt Ryan who's finally good enough to find his second and third read and buy time to do so, which means that Pitts is actually going to get some decent targets his way. But they're not using Pitts to his ability because I don't think they believe they can count on that ability that they saw early on, and that there's something going on with Pitts that they don't have that level of confidence, which is basically past experience. And past quarterbacks do. But there's a possibility that as Penix's game continues to grow, got to be careful about that particular phrase, then Kyle Pitts' game could grow as well, or he could be more receptive to it. Now,
like
if we're going to get
here.
I feel we could get very juvenile very quickly with this particular.
Yes.
Yeah, or I feel like I should be teaching in public schools. And then they'll kick me out, and then they'll send people to like a pregnancy center as opposed to prevention. That's our country, folks. But anyway,
there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Enough on that. But Penix. If Penix game continues to progress, then I would say that Kyle Pitts' game could benefit from that. But I would rather see it. Than in order to believe it, that he's going to be anything more than like a dump down option and maybe occasional first read on a schemed play. But the flights of Kyle Pitts being like the ball winner downfield, it could happen, but I feel like that's more possible than probable at this stage, and it should have been probable 2 or 3 years ago.
Let's do the real feel it or fuck it here, which isn't a feel it or fuck it at all. It's just how much do you feel it? Mike Penix is for real.
Oh yeah, fucking off the charts feel it, because if you watch,
because you did from day one.
I did from day one. It confirmed my priors.
Right.
Yes, okay, but if we're gonna look at the game, if we're gonna look at the game, if you're gonna look at it from a critical standpoint, you could look at this game and go, it just felt wonky. The Falcons' offense felt wonky all day. Like they weren't really running the ball with Bijan Robinson that well. It seemed like it took until the last few seconds for Atlanta to get the ball off. They were slow on offense, and it seemed like that. On top of that, you had multiple drops from Drake London. He dropped 3 balls. There was just. Penix had some pressure to deal with. Atlanta had penalties that were key penalties or key drops on third downs. And despite that, Penix really kept them in that game. Now, I would say this, if we're going to look at it from a more analytical point of view, everything I just said makes it sound like the Falcons did a bad job and Penix lifted them. What I would actually say is it's more accurate to say Tampa Bay played man-to-man coverage and blitzed and forced Michael Penix, and they locked down Bijan in the run game where they keyed on him so much that Atlanta couldn't run with Bijan. They were facing the blitz constantly, and because they run an offense with a lot of motion and shifts, that Penix had to make a lot of last-second adjustments, and the fact that the team only had a few penalties due to shifts and motions, considering the pressure that was coming their way and the looks that were being sent to them, tells you how much command Michael Penix had of that offense in a situation where it looked awkward, but it was because he was finding solutions to avert disaster, and he did. And so when I look at this particular game, is really is really quite an accomplishment for what Penix did in week 1 against an aggressive defense. And I think that as the games we see more games unfold here during the season, we're going to see Penix in different situations where he's going to be able to make some of those beautiful shots downfield, some of those back shoulders, and be more aggressive and have more time and not have to constantly be checking on the field. But the fact that he did that and still brought them back, and he used his legs on top of that too, and stood tall in the pocket and made some good throws. This is very promising long term for Atlanta and Michael Penix, because Atlanta's defense was pretty darn good too, considering who they played.
Well, he's no Kirk Cousins, so I'll just leave it at that.
He sure. Thank God. Thank God. We only need one. We only need one Kirk Cousins,
one
and bless him.
Sandwich to go around.
Yeah, have a blessed day, Kirk Cousins.
Casey Washington, a player to monitor for fantasy, or about to get Darnell Mooney to feel it or fuck it?
Oh, he's about to get Darnell Mooneyed, but I'm feeling him as someone to continue to monitor because he was the most reliable receiver for Atlanta on the field for most of the game. On third down targets, he played big. He nearly had a huge play that Antoine Winfield made a fantastic effort to defend the ball. If that ball, that's one where Penix, if he placed it a little bit differently, that's the game winner. It was a beautiful play unfolding, but just not quite executed to the level it needed to be. And Antoine Winfield, credit him because he did a great job anyhow.
The most unnecessary feeler fucking of the day, Emeka Egbuka, is for real.
Absolutely, he is for real. Now, I think maybe the more necessary question is Chris Godwin obsolete because of Egbuka? And I'd say no, because Egbuka is probably going to be he played more of that Puka Nacua, Robert Woods-like role in this offense, and that's great. But as teams, you got to remember, just like, say, Chase Claypool back in the day, and I'm not comparing them in ability, just comparing them in how they're used in production. Opposing defenses are going to watch this game over the next 3 to 4 weeks when they get prepared for him and go, shit, we need to put the clamps on him and deal with Mike Evans at the same time, and then Chris Godwin's coming back. Yeah, you're gonna see some games where Chris Godwin goes off once he gets acclimated. But I'd say you're gonna have some buy low windows for Chris Godwin even when he gets back.
Yep.
But then by week 8, week 9, I have a feeling we're gonna see Egbuka get the clamps put on him, and he's still gonna be quality. But you're gonna see other guys go off because of the fact that Egbuka put the league on notice.
Yeah, I think the for real portion, seems obvious. I mean, everything we've heard, every clip you saw on your Twitter device, if you were out there watching him in practice, he has verified in game action at least one game's worth. But there's been enough evidence out there that leads you to believe this is just like, okay, I didn't need a whole lot of evidence to confirm what we've already been hearing, or if you've been following along his career, or if you've been doing what Matt Waldman does. You probably didn't need any of this. So we knew what was coming, and he's delivering on it. Very polished player. Omarion Hampton for the Chargers got most of the workload. We're going to talk about this a little more about maybe what Najee Harris's role is, or why he didn't have much of a role. But will Hampton be the bell cow in this offense?
Look, this is a pro Harris show, so
it is.
So we need to put that out there.
Got to hedge everything.
We got to hedge
pro
everything.
Harris tilt.
Yes, but he was the bell cow because Najee Harris didn't get a chance to really get conditioned to begin the season, okay? The eye injury, no, there was no threat. They were going to pull the eyeball out of his socket, and he was going to be the first Pirate running back for, in football. And all apologies to Mark Van Egan of the Raiders. But, you're looking at a situation where they needed to get him back into the shape. Omarion Hampton is what I would call the hammer in this offense. The hammer with speed. If you can get him out in space, out on the edge on a perimeter run where you got those elephants on parade, he can get downhill, and if he builds that runway, you're not catching him. if you allow him to get downhill on a run play early, he's going to carry people with him, and he's going to do his best lower middle class Earl Campbell impression, which is still pretty impressive. But when you squeeze off gaps like the Chiefs did on certain plays, and you force him to create in the backfield, that's not his game. He's a Rashard Mendenhall type of back. He can catch, he can give you big plays, but you want him downhill. They need a guy who can be a little bit more jitterbug and create when the creases are a little tighter and more zone looks, and can catch and block out of the backfield as well. And guess who does that? Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris does that very well. And I think that we're going to see probably more of an even split than people anticipate. So when people start telling you about volume in week one, in a situation like this, fuck that, because it has no context. They may end up being right, but I don't think that they will with the Harris situation.
That's a great point. I'm going to throw this out there and use the analogy of the movie The Mechanic, not the new one with Jason Statham and whoever else it was, the real one with Charles Bronson and Jan Michael Vincent. Omarion Hampton is Jan Michael Vincent. He's the hot shot. He comes in, everything going his way. Charles Bronson, super competent, a savvy old professional after 4 seasons, 1,000 yards a year, every year, and really solid fantasy production. Maybe not the high end, flashy Jan Michael Vincent, good looks kind of production. Najee Harris isn't going anywhere. We'll see how this plays out over time. And you're right. Like in all these circumstances, everyone we're talking about, there are going to be things that play out, circumstances that are outside our control, outside our ability to see coming up. Performances that are great, injuries that maybe not to the player, but to ancillary pieces that have an impact. I mean, it's such a
lineman. One lineman plays bad,
right? On a play,
on a play, and people are mad, or he has a bad day because he's playing against a Brian Burns type, or maybe Jaden Daniels is a step off on each play. And Baker Mayfield was a step. I mean, on crossing routes yesterday. I mean, Baker Mayfield. I'm listening to Jonathan Vilma talk about how good Baker Mayfield's placement was, and I'm going, on vertical routes, but on crossing routes, it looked like Odell Beckham's dad was going to come back out of the woodwork and like hit Baker over the head. It's week one. Let's get everybody a chance to have some timing. Nobody's practiced against real run games yet. All of that.
This is the key. And so we'll see how it plays out. And I'm not against the notion that Omarion Hampton is everything everyone says, but just for me, for someone just watching, I haven't seen it yet. Right? I mean, he looks like everything, but you see that special. I don't see anything special yet. And maybe I will at some point. Maybe he hasn't had the right opportunities. I don't know.
Josh Norris read his RSP when he said, don't get mad at me, but I think he's Latavius Murray. And I'm going, he's a Latavius Murray type of back, which is a good enough back to be part of your lineup and give you fantasy points.
Big and fast. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so a guy I think can be special was not special, Kenneth Walker III. He will be worth his ADP, feel it or fuck it?
I'm going to say fuck it. I don't think he's going to be worth his ADP. I kind of stayed away from Seahawks, honestly, unless the lower the better. I love Kenneth Walker's game, but I think that there's going to be enough Zach Charbonnet mixed into this. And with Sam Darnold, I'm worried about whether Sam's going to be for real. So this offense, I just feel like this team may be playing a lot from behind. So I love the theory of Clint Kubiak in this offensive line. In practice, I'm not sure they have the quarterback and the offensive line experience yet.
I wanted to throw this in there, not the least of which was I was a Kenneth Walker guy going in and talking to beat writers who, told me that everything that I've been hearing, like Clint Kubiak from day one, Walker's my guy. Well, we started hearing in the middle of August, Mike McDonald saying, well, Walker might be our guy if he get on the damn field. And so we get this first week. But I think this brings up a broader point. I know my friend Joe Dolan at Fantasy Points put out a tweet there, guys, doing the charting of the Eagles game. A.J. Brown didn't win a single route in that game against the Cowboys. He's usually the top of the line of that metric in their weekly charting, right? Whether he catches all the balls or not, it remains to be seen. He's winning a lot of routes. He won 0 routes according to their charter. What didn't AJ Brown do? Practice very much in August.
Yep.
So I think we need to be, and like we're going to see a lot of. There's a whole series of players who I have concerns about. Terry McLaurin, didn't practice much in August. Juwan Jennings did not practice much in August. We're going to see other players coming up that have not practiced. Justin Jefferson did not practice much in August. Devon Achane, Tyreek Hill. All these players are, it might take them a little time to get up to speed and get where they need to be. Not saying that anything is guaranteed in any of these cases. And also the reminder of what Matt said before, being right and wrong in this world of football and fantasy football are temporary conditions. Yep. You can be right about one thing today and be wrong about it tomorrow, or on one play and wrong the next play. So be ready for that. We'll see how the Kenneth Walker thing plays out. I was super disappointed how much work Zach Charbonnet got. I was not surprised with how good he looked. I do think if you drafted both those running backs, you have potentially a running back one every week if one of them is getting the bulk of the workload, and you know who it's going to be. Neither of those are given. Sorry, people.
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Breece Hall will be a bell cow back. Feel it or fuck it.
In Dynasty, hell yes, I fucking feel that. But right now, I still think that Aaron Glenn has eyes, and his staff has eyes, and Breece Hall looked back. As long as he's healthy, that juice was definitely back in his legs. He played well. He outplayed Braylon Allen. Yes, Braylon Allen had that touchdown. That's fine. Braylon Allen is an Omarion Hampton type of back with not as much, some speed like that too. But he's, I would say that they're the hammers. They're gonna get glory after the veteran professional comes in there. But Hall to me is a borderline special back, if not a special back already. And he's back. His game has returned, and I don't think it's going to be deniable.
So I think I think a lot of his, I thought he looked great this game. I thought it was a weird game. I'm not sure we've seen what this offense is going to look like yet. I'll just go out on a limb and say that. Also, I have questions about how much he can be used as a receiver with Justin Fields as a quarterback. He seems more like a tuck and run guy than a dump down guy.
Oh yeah.
But there will be some dump downs. But I mean, the Breece Hall's best years came with super high-end target shares, right? Like 80 targets plus targets a couple of years ago when he was in the top 5. So I don't know if those days are with him, but
he's not a running back one in fantasy, right. Not remotely.
So I guess that's the question, right? I mean, in terms of a bell cow, there's going to be some sharing, and we'll see what this offense is. But I think if I was skeptical about him returning value at his ADP, I'm more encouraged after one game than I have any right to be.
Yeah, and I think any right to be is probably the good phrase there, because we're loving the player and what he can do as opposed to the situation he's in. And they played well without Elijah Vera Tucker on the left side, but the Steelers also played like crap. And if you listen to Mike Tomlin in the tunnel at the end of the first half, or at the beginning of the second half, he goes, it's like we forgot how to shed blocks and tackle in the first half. It's not, we're over intellectualizing things. It's simple. And in the fourth quarter, the Steelers woke up in the fourth quarter.
As I watched that game, the thing that stood out to me most was this is not the Steelers defense I expected to see.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. Ashton Jeatny will be worth his ADP. Feel it or fuck it.
No, I'd say fuck it, but he will be. He will be 19. He will be 2001's version of rookie LaDainian Tomlinson, who averaged about 3.8, 3.9 yards a carry, but you could see the talent. And that's what I saw this last night when I went and watched the game. Jeanty looked good. He was powerful. He had balance. I mean, he's not Omarion Hampton powerful, but he's that quick scat back who can use his movement and his low center of gravity really well. He looked every bit the talent that I saw in a bad situation.
Let me just throw this in to tag onto this question. This is just a feel it or fuck it, no explanation. Yeah. You'll wish you had taken Brock Bowers in the spot you took Ashton Jeatny. Feel it or fuck it.
Felt that since July. Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
TreVeyon Henderson, Patriots running back, will be worth his ADP.
No, fuck that. I don't believe that either. He ran hard. He looks quick. He looks fast. They're using him as Mr. Outside right now, and they're going to keep using Ramondre Stevenson as Mr. Inside. And whether whether you don't like that because he's slow, you should go on Twitter and go on my timeline, and you can watch the Monday night their rendition of the Monday Night Football. Jim McMahon passed to Willie Gault with Walter Payton just killing the Vikings blitzer on the first play of the game. There's a play that they reenact like that. It's the B- version of that because they only draw a pass interference and don't get the catch. But what Ramondre Stevenson did was literally jackhammer the blitzing middle linebacker. And while TreVeyon Henderson was decent in his pass protection, Ramondre Stevenson, what he does inside and what he does as a pass protector and receiver, he's going to continue to have a role. And Mike Vrabel doesn't give a fuck about your speed centerfolds, Bob Harris. But I think Henderson will have big games, but he's going to be lower than ADP. I think he's going to be a player that you're going to have to try and guess the matchups with.
Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt will outproduce TreVeyon Henderson. Feeler, fuck it. Pay the bill.
Oh, I'm feeling it. Definitely. Bill is paid. Bill's going to get paid. And especially if now, I don't think the Commanders are going to get the type of box advantages they got against the Giants repeatedly with Bill Merritt on the field. They were having 10-7 advantages, 9-6 advantages. I mean, repeatedly in those initial drives with Croskey-Merritt on the field, and all he had to do was press one block and hit the gas, and he did those things exactly the way you expect. He had a good game, but I think that he has better weapons around him, a better offense, and a scheme that's going to get him into space a little bit more often than what we're going to see with TreVeyon Henderson.
Fair enough. I think that's not wrong. Dylan Sampson. Got Kayshon Boutte could be back as soon as this week. The league's going to meet with him. Maybe there'll be some punishment. Maybe not. Adam Schefter says it's possible he could be available this week. But Dylan Sampson got all the footballs this week. He will remain a fantasy contributor. Feel it or fuck it.
I feel it as a flex play in a deep league, but I would say fuck it from a week-to-week standpoint. He did a great job catching the ball. He's got juice. He runs hard. He's a smart runner. There's going to be a role for him. I think Jerome Ford and Raheem Sanders are the two guys. Rocket Sanders are the two guys that have the most to lose when Kayshon Judkins returns. It won't be an immediate loss, but you'll see the writing on the wall if Judkins performs to his standard. And at that point,
I already see it on the wall for Ford. I mean, It's just like, the train is coming, and I don't know that Ford's going to be a passenger. Sampson, I agree, probably will be. I'm feeling that. Okay. Let me tee you up. Let me get the pitch ready for you and put it on the tee. Harold Fannin Jr. will remain a weekly starter in fantasy.
Fuck yes, yeah. And there was some wondering whether that might actually happen because you knew they were going to use two tight ends, but then you wondered when they don't, were they going to find a way to keep Harold Fannin on the field with his versatility either as a slot. And they did. They used him in the backfield. They used him in the slot. They found ways to keep him on the field even when it wasn't a two tight end traditional look. And look, he already runs better routes than David Njoku. And I don't think Njoku's going to suffer. He's going to complement Njoku and what he does. We talked about that this summer. Caught the ball well. He took Logan Wilson out of the game at one point with his physical play. He was a good blocker, glue-handed on receivers and on defensive backs. He was very good in that in the run game, and he worked open well with Joe Flacco. And I think that I don't think this was a fluke of a game. I think we have ourselves probably a low end tight end one in like 14 and 16 league fantasy leagues, and maybe even a top 12 tight end.
Every time I saw him catch the ball, I saw like your glowing face in my mind going, damn it.
Yeah. Sam Laporta.
Coming.
Sam Laporta. That's what he is, a Sam Laporta clone, and maybe even a little better than Sam in certain areas, where Sam may be a little better in others.
We talked about Kayshon Boutte a little bit last week or two, and a lot of high aspirations for him from some of the local media. Also, apparently from him, Kayshon Boutte had a great game. He'll remain a weekly start in fantasy. Field or fuck it.
Fuck yes, I believe that. I traded away Stephon Diggs and Tank Bigsby for Boutte and a second-round pick last week in a Football Guys Dynasty IDP league, and did not regret that for a second. I probably feel like I could have gotten a little bit more in return for that, but I wanted to make sure that I got Boutte because the way he played is exactly the way it was described in what I saw at LSU, a kind of a Robert Woods, Jarvis Landry type clone who can win the back shoulder throws. He runs good routes in zone. He is a rugged player who wins contested balls and takes hits, and you saw all that on display against the Raiders this week. And you can tell that of all the receivers that Drake May plays with, the two guys he's most comfortable with were, as stated by the beat writers, give them their flowers on this one, Hunter Henry and Kayshon Boutte. And I don't think that's going to change dramatically. You'll get more, Demario Douglas into the mix. But Boutte, I just laughed. Dude's playing out of position, I think, still. I got to check and see whether he was playing the X still. It's his worst position, and he still might be their best receiver.
We will see about that, and I agree. The eyeball test was good, and it matched everything we've been told. Also, Diggs is not going away, nor Demario Douglas. So it's going to be Drake May could be all that by the time all is said and done. He's got a good receiving core, including Hunter
Pink Powder might have something to say differently, but that's all right. Yeah,
everyone needs a little help now and again.
Right.
Calvin Austin III will remain a weekly start in fantasy. Field or fuck it.
Yes, you bastard. Yes, he will, because if this is a Harris show, this is a Calvin Austin show. He's the only Steeler I like. No, actually no. But Calvin Austin he played good football. They figured out how to use him in a way where Aaron Rodgers is going to use him on back shoulder plays, which is exactly what he showed at Memphis when he was like the better version of Wan'Dale Robinson, but nobody seemed to understand that. They used him out of the backfield and snuck him out against a linebacker and a safety, and he scored on that play. They're going to find ways to work him open and here's the other thing. I mean, DK Metcalf as a wide receiver one is an adventure, and that's not always necessarily a good thing. Like, Aaron Rodgers did a great job on an RPO to check to an RPO so that Metcalf could get open against a blitz that if it was a scheme play, it would have been awful. But in terms of catching quick-hitting targets on slants working across the field, you're kind of like, I don't know. Like, DK Metcalf is just, I would put him a plane higher than Calvin Ridley. Like, all the talent, you see all that talent athletically, and you're like, ooh, that's a wide receiver one. And then they just kind of pull the carpet out from under you in key moments where you're just kind of, that leave you like Cam Ward's dad in the stands who got up and leaned over the rail when Calvin dropped that ball late in the game against the Broncos that would have set up field goal position.
I'm not out of the Calvin Austin III business here. I will feel him as well for now, as long as he's the wide receiver too, or in that pecking order. I think the tight ends will have various things to say each week. We may see more of them, and it turns out that if he has a quarterback, Arthur Smith is a pretty smart coach, or at least a quarterback who operates the offense in the way he wants. He can be a pretty good coach. I don't know if he's an offensive genius. Like,
Yeah, I mean this
Go
is
ahead.
this is his first true quarterback. I mean Russell Wilson notwithstanding, Russ has isms, and they don't jive well with Arthur. But this is the first. Yeah, I mean if you go back to Atlanta, oh my God, he had quarterbacks that should not have been drafted.
Correct. So, all right, that's fine. Noah Fant in his new home in Cincinnati is for real. Feel
Yeah,
it or fuck it.
I feel it. I think I was wrong. I think I was wrong about Noah Fant only because when I look at this offense and you have matchup player like Jamar Chase, a guy who can do anything and he can win against anyone. You have T. Higgins, who is a matchup player in his role. He can do pretty much anything within the scope of his specific role. You got Chase Brown and what he does. Then you add Burton and Yosivas and all and into the mix, and suddenly Noah Fant doesn't have to be anything more than a schemed up player because there's enough weapons there to create space for him to just be be himself and do a good job. So is he going to be a weekly huge player? No, but I think that he's going to probably be the guy who's the biggest beneficiary of talent surrounding him.
Fair enough. We'll see. I thought just in general, obviously the offensive output for the Bengals wasn't what we all expected. I expected him to hit the ground running a little faster in week 1, given the fact that they were all on the field in August. So maybe my whole missing August thing just doesn't matter fucking at all. It's just we're not going to get real things until we get to October. And the sooner we prepare to deal with that, probably the better our mental health will be en route to getting to October. So we'll see about that. Noah Fant for real? Maybe. I'm not feeling nor fucking at this point. DeAndre Hopkins is still for real. Feel it or fuck it.
Yep, feel that. I mean, that was just one play, but that one play pretty much said it all. And I think that, again, we're not expecting him to be a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 necessarily, but I do think if you're in a 3 receiver league or 4 receiver league, you need to pick him up if you hadn't, because I still think he's going to lead this team in touchdown receptions.
I think it's probably Zay Flowers, though. I mean, had a phenomenal game, but he tends to do that like once a month. I don't know. I feel like I'm the anti Zay Flowers guy of the whole universe. Me and Mike Dempsey on the radio program. Everyone asks us questions. This guy or Zay Flowers? It's never Zay Flowers. Last night, well, yes, this week it should have been Zay Flowers, and there are weeks where it should be Zay Flowers. It's just that consistent weekly production is tough to find, and it's going to be run heavy offense either way. So you're right. This is going to kind of be hit or miss for Hopkins, but I don't disagree. He looks like he's still DeAndre Hopkins. Aaron Rodgers is back. Feel it or fuck it.
I feel it. Is he back to MVP caliber Rodgers? No, because he can't move quite that well the way he used to, but he can still operate off boots and throw, off balance and throw on the move, and he cashed in on bootlegs, designed boots all day yesterday. And he changed the plays, like I talked about that DK Metcalf play that he changed. He's gonna be able to do things. A good play caller like Arthur Smith, like you. I'm so glad you brought up that you didn't have quarterbacks worth a fuck to work with, because a good coordinator can only do so much. And then at some point, you got to lean on your quarterback to be able to fill in the blanks here. And Aaron Rodgers is that guy who can fill in the blanks and also command the coordinator's respect enough to have input on what goes on. And so I think both of these guys, Smith and Aaron Rodgers, were both working with complementary either, Aaron Rodgers is working with coordinators that I'd go, yeah, okay, maybe you need to let Aaron drive a little bit more. And Arthur Smith was working with quarterbacks where it was like we're running down a hill without a driver who's asleep at the wheel. So this is a good match for them.
All right, and I don't disagree with that. Look, Rodgers is much maligned for a wide variety of reasons, very few of them which have to do with his playing football. And I saw someone, I can't even remember who was talking about this, but like the suggestion was made, and I wish I could attribute it to whoever, but the suggestion was made, like if maybe it was Cecil and Sig talking on the Audible last night, but like if there was a coach where Aaron Rodgers could show up and a coach could tell him, look, man, this is my team. We're not doing your thing. Alan Lazard's not coming. We're not getting all your assistants. You're going to play my game and do my thing. It would be Mike Tomlin, right? I mean, you could get things on point. And maybe that's all. Look, maybe Aaron Rodgers is just sick of all the crap, and this is all he wants is just to be another guy on the team, right? So, but I think all the pieces are there. The offense is there.
And maybe the Jets were so bad that Aaron felt like he needed to bring in other people.
That too. That's possible too. Yeah. This is a much more established franchise, I'm told. Justin Fields is back. Feel it or fuck it.
He's back to what he was.
He never went away.
Yeah, he never went away, but he never climbed anywhere either. I mean, like he is who he is.
He is.
Yes.
There we have it. Concise analysis has taken place.
Yep.
But for fantasy managers, I mean, can you feel that as a weekly start then?
No. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I don't like it. It is a more volatile weekly start.
Yes.
So yes, but it's volatile.
Justin Fields or Danny Dimes.
Absolutely, Justin Fields. Absolutely.
Quarterback. You're dissing the quarterback too this week. By the way,
he can retire. He can retire.
If anyone reads my in and out column after last week, I don't know why, but also yes, it was a disaster, and Daniel Jones was a big part of my disastrous finish. My accountability section for this week's in and out will be off the charts, I'm sure. Joe Flacco plays the entire season as the starter of the Cleveland Browns. Feel it or fuck it?
I'm going to say feel it. I think Kevin Stefanski knew what he was doing when it came to the type of players they wanted to draft, the type of scheme that they wanted to return to, and how Joe Flacco fits that scheme. And I don't think Flacco's going to light the world on fire, but he's going to be good enough that they can play a full year, and they will figure out what they got to do next year in terms of either clearing the decks of the quarterbacks that they think they drafted and getting a new one, or and having Flacco be the bridge next year.
When they traded Kenny Pickett away, they burnt the boats, right? I mean, they are like it's Flacco or bust, right? I mean, I don't know that you want to. I don't think the plan was to count on Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders emerging as a superstar this year. Your odds of Joe Flacco like regaining, 75% of his final 5-week stretch in 2023 are far greater than either of those guys turning into shining lights this season. So, yes, I think.
Kenny Pickett was the guy with like smallpox on one of those Spanish galleons heading towards the Americas, and they caught it early, and they just threw him off the plank.
Maybe, or maybe they just decided it's Flacco or bust. I don't know. I think there is a universe that Flacco could get benched. Like turnovers are going to be an issue. And so, he's got to avoid that. But assuming that happens, I can't say the same of Russell Wilson. Matt Waldman, Russell Wilson plays the entire season. Feel it or fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. I was hoping.
Let me check my notifications to make sure it hasn't changed already.
Right. Look, watching the game, there was a lot of pressure, and it wasn't like he played poorly. The Giants' offense played poorly. The offensive line was bad. I watched a play where Andrew Thomas, an excellent left tackle, got pushed into the backfield, and he tried to turn around and right himself and ran smack dab into Cam Scatterbo in a goal line play. There were a number of things that were just sloppy, and this is an offense where Wilson Wilson was as good as he could be in that situation, at least in the first half that I've watched. I haven't watched the second half of the game yet as we start on this.
Real quick, Andrew Thomas was out, so was that his substitute?
It must have been substitute, 71.
Right.
Okay, that's what it was.
And maybe that was part of the problem.
That was part of the problem then. Thank you for noting that, because I didn't check the number, and I just presumed that Thomas just had a bad moment.
Yeah, he had a foot injury.
That explains that adds to the argument even more. You know, And I think that they're going to get, honestly, I think they give Russ another 2 to 3 games. I know that you've got some coaching types on field and folks like they're going, you got to get Jackson Dart in there because you want to give Malik Neighbors a chance to feel like he's got someone to grow with on this team or he's going to want out of here. And I'd say that's fine, but there's a balance between you got to get Jackson Dart in there and get his ass kicked without a left tackle. And
Jackson Dart had good performances in exhibition season, all bets are off, right? Like the pressure is on to get that guy on the field, especially if the guy that's on the field is Russ Wilson, and he's not as old as me, so I'm not going to make jokes. But I don't know, if you're a coach in trouble, what is the best way to get out of trouble? Or maybe there is no saving you if you're Brian Daboll. But if you're Brian Daboll, you're saying, what's more likely to keep me around? A promising but still crappy season with Jackson Dart or a crappy season with Russell Wilson?
And that's a good question, but maybe the other answer is what's going to garner me more respect among the coaching fraternity so that I get a job and do right by my players and have a reputation among my players of being someone who's just not out for himself, because I'm probably going to get a job again. I'm going to get a job again as a coordinator. For sure. But what's going to give me that edge, that I look out for my players that I'm all in for myself?
I think the coaches are going to say, man, save your ass. But the players might have a different outlook. I don't know if they'll pay that much attention to it. Well, see, they had a package for Jackson Dart. They said, obviously, did not use it. Jackson Dart was not allowed to talk to the media after the game. And that was kind of interesting.
Good.
They forbade that contact there. So
they know the New York media.
The big story was after the game, and I don't, it's easy to read too much into these things, but Brian Daboll wouldn't commit to Russ Wilson as the starter in week 2 because why would he? I mean, obviously, it's it should go without saying that probably it's going to be Russell Wilson, but you know how the questions like to be asked. I'm going to ask you one more question, Matt Waldman. Hugo, eating your loafer, feel it or fuck it?
Fuck it, he's done. He took a couple little bites, but he's satisfied with the deer meat we're feeding him nowadays. So I'm
the most pampered dog in America.
I'm telling you, he is.
Feel that.
I am totally feeling that. After how he got treated before I met him, we're gonna pamper his ass for a little while. It's paying off.
All right, let's go do some work. We'll call it a week this week. We'll do it again next week. There will be different outcomes, and everything we thought today, we will have to rearrange, reassess, resort, and probably re-explain in many cases because, man, it's September football, people. The variance is wild. We saw it in week 1. We're going to see more of it in week 2. You got to keep your fantasy team together until you get some clarity and some stability and some repeatable things to work with. That might not happen till October. So we'll be here feeling and fucking things and trying to help you do that all along the way. I'm Bob Harris, Football Guys. Footballguys.com. You'll find my fantasy notebook on Thursday, my 5 questions with Gary Davenport on Friday, my in and out if you dare. The great thing about that article is I'm trying to play against the staff projections. So even when I'm wrong, the site is right. So fantastic by me. I'm putting a positive spin on that. Get that every Saturday. Get the Daily Update podcast every day morning, 10 minutes of news and information to start your day. Get Matt Waldman's gut check and his roundtables. Great stuff at footballguys.com.
Top 10 coming out today or later tonight and early tomorrow. And we'll be talking about some players that maybe you should rent, players that maybe you should rent short-term, some guys that might be able to be short to long-term rentals, guys you shouldn't be worried about. You should just relax. And then some folks that maybe I don't think are quite for real. And then I'll look at some other guys with some film stuff.
Week 1's a bitch and then you die. No, you don't. It's week 2. It'll be okay, people. Love you, Matt. Bye.
Love you. Bye.